it's a reality for almost everybody,
Right.
right? Where the jobs that existed is not existing anymore. So
Correct.
you almost have to realize that these transitions keep happening, and these are the best things that's happened. And also any sort of holism, workaholism, alcoholism, any sort of that is you escaping life, right? You're escaping reality,
Yes.
right? And I think for me that also sometimes you need to pause.
Yeah.
And if you've had like XYZ dream, it's okay to take a step back and realign and re-look at that dream and then go back and work on it
Get
again.
into it.
Yeah, get it.
100%. No, it's for the people who don't know how to do it. Can you just probably lay down the steps for when we say tune in? What does it look like? How do you do it? What are the steps?
What we're thinking is a composition of so many different things that you don't have to believe it completely.
Correct.
And code, we talk about organization values,
Right.
but also what are your personal values, right? How do you design a life that's so conscious for yourself
Yeah.
that even when the world outside is doing
Context here. So what happens is, being in that room, I think I've started to understand how to break those barriers, but you cannot just walk up to them, and that wouldn't be like a very easy conversation because
just give it a shot. Just give it a shot. It's one of the things.
Hey there, welcome to MVP. I'm Vanshika, your host, and today we are diving into a very important conversation which would be about leadership, but not just for women, but leadership in general. With the new generation, new styles of leadership coming in, we really need to reinvent the wheel. We really need to bring in the new styles in which the leadership scripts could be reinvented, which work for today in 2025. Joining me is Shilpa, someone who's been rewriting these scripts, coaching people into leadership, women, men, and people across boards to build the best leaders and cultures across. So let's dive right into it.
very, very warm welcome, Shilpa. Thank you for being here for this conversation. Before we really dive into that topic, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. Thank you for having me here.
Awesome. So, before again we get into our topic, I would love for our audience, people listening to this, to understand your journey from being an engineer to going through your own set of mental health challenges and now leading cultures and spaces. I personally have felt already inspired by your journey, but would love for you to share it with everyone.
Thank you. Absolutely. So my journey started with engineering because I thought I would do civil engineering. I will be in that space all the way through. But then, so I did my undergrad in Chennai and then went to US for my master's.
Wow.
Came back to India and joined the family business for a bit. And at that point of time, we had some challenges that was going on. So it so happened that given that I was back home and it was all the people I knew, I wanted something that was different. So I started volunteering with an organization called Make a Difference in Chennai.
very
So they work with children at risk. And at that point of time, because there were some challenges going on at the workplace, I spent more and more time working with the children, getting into the impact space. So my first transition happened from being an engineer to being in the impact space and social sector
Wow.
at that point of time. And I just fell in love with the work there. And I moved to, Bangalore to continue that work and join that work full time, join the organization full time. And over there, a lot of what I did was around people, culture, and it was also about mobilizing young leaders and individuals. So inspiring them to work towards a cause, right? And you're not being paid for it, but still it's a lot of energy and a lot of care that is brought into the space.
Right.
And I loved what I was doing, like grew across the organization, was a workaholic as well at that point of time. So what happens then is that if you're a workaholic, you're not really taking care of your health, there's a crash that inevitably happens.
Agreed.
So I did experience that crash. This was in 2017. And that's when I experienced depression for the first time. And, I was like, okay. And you can't, even if you're exceptional at your work, you can't do anything if your mental health is affected. Right? So
That is so
that
true.
is when I started understanding and relooking at the value of, health and well-being. And it started with practices, mindfulness came into it. So since 2017 till now, I meditate every day. Right? So
Wow.
there is meditation, there's journaling, and of course the support system that you have around you is also really helpful.
Yeah.
The tools you pick up along the way becomes helpful. So I started understanding the value of well-being at that point of time. So since
Right.
2017, I've been on that journey while also working on people and culture and strategic operations and all of those sort of roles. So in 2018 is when I went to Bali, and took a break, a sabbatical, and that's when I realized that what, I know how to do a lot of things, but I haven't had the experience of starting anything from the scratch.
Wow.
That 0 to 1 journey, and that's when I decided that what, I want to start Authentic Living.
Wow.
I didn't know what it's going to look like. At that point of time, I thought that Authentic Living will be primarily engaging with people who, build self-confidence, self-esteem, emotional regulation, things that's not taught in colleges or schools,
Yeah.
but is exceptionally important to function as a, well-rounded human being. That was the idea. And along at that time, I also went to Harvard for a course and came back, which reinstated my belief that the kind of work that I wanted to do is necessary at a global scale. It's not just an India thing, but it's rather any human being requires some amount of support and space to invest in themselves and their own development, because at the end of the day, we call it culture, we call it leadership. How you are on the inside is how much, to the extent to which you can go towards the outside and support others, right?
Right.
So Authentic Living started in 2020, and pandemic, so I registered in February, and then lockdown happened in March.
Wow.
So initially the plan was to travel and do workshops and all of that, but all of that could not work. So I had to come back to the drawing board, did a few online group coaching workshops around nonviolent communication, around all the 8 dimensions of well-being, all of that. But then when the second wave hit is when people started reaching out asking for, do you provide therapy?
Wow.
And I'm not a therapist, right? And we were on social media, so they kind of got to know about Authentic Living.
Right.
So one thing I knew I'm good at is finding the right people and bringing passionate people together to do the best that they can do.
Correct.
So hence we set up like the Authentic Living mental health vertical, and since then till now we provide online therapy, and we have a team of therapists who provide therapy. And while that was happening, I continued consulting with organizations, providing coaching, leadership coaching and transformation coaching. And in the last 2 years is when it so happened, and I also in like a couple of years back did a certification which is on integrative nutrition and health coach certification from,
Very nice.
it's called IIN in New York. So I got that done, and then started working with one woman leader, just helping them navigate burnout, the work challenges, all of that. And just it kind of like, snowballed after, because it was lovely. And I loved working with, as much as I love working with an organization, because that at a system level.
Yeah.
And then at an individual level, also working with women leaders, it kind of came in together, because I feel like real change happens when you work at an individual as well as a system level.
Correct.
So now there is a team of therapists who provide therapy, while I continue to provide coaching and consulting, but more of coaching for general public. But I love working with women. So
No,
yes, a
definitely.
quick
So what I'm taking as a takeaway from this is that there was this pivotal point, if we can call it,
Yeah.
wherein obviously you were like a workaholic, you were in your hustle and everything, but a break came in which
Yeah.
was uncalled for, and then obviously like you must have not enjoyed it,
Yeah.
and it really changed your career path, right? Because
Absolutely.
now it's all about you helping others
Yeah.
to not be in that space. If you don't mind, would you be able, like, will you share more details of what that phase looked like? Because I know for sure that there's so many people out there,
Yeah.
and only when we speak about probably our own personal whatever we went through, right, is when others will probably feel less lonely.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind sharing that, some bits of it with
For
us.
sure. I think there's been like, it's not just one incident. There's been like
Series
3
of
different
incidents.
phases, right? The first shift, because I always thought I would be, working with the family business and all of that, like
Right.
the civil engineering side of it, right? That was the first pivot when I said, okay, this is not happening. And I left the city that I grew up in and moved to another place to restart life.
Right.
And that was also because I was at that point of time, I didn't know, but I was going through a really bad low. And I've spoken about this earlier as well. So I don't want to go too much into the detail.
No problem.
But I was going through a low, and I told myself that if I get better, I will then make choices differently. And
Right.
like almost follow the path of what is calling to me and grab onto the opportunities that come my way.
Right.
It might look different from what I've learned. And the reason I'm bringing that up is I think where the world is right now, it's a reality for almost everybody.
Right.
Right? Where the jobs that existed is not existing anymore. So
Correct.
you almost have to realize that, these transitions keep happening, and these are the best things that's happened to me.
Right.
So the lows that I have experienced, even if it's the 6 months of, being low, being depressed, but I had high functioning depression. So I would go into work, I would be, be socializing and all of that, but still in the back, there was a void. right? So it's
Yeah.
not like, in the external, you can't see
No
it.
one will figure that out.
No one will figure it out,
Yeah.
except for those you're most closest to.
Yeah.
But it also, at the end of the day, causes a lot of internal issues, like your health start getting affected. And that's something that, kind of stood out for me. So for me, that whole journey of transition it was difficult. It took a while to understand what was going on. And in that phase, I didn't need to go to a therapist at that point of time. I was able to work through lifestyle changes, food changes, like habit changes, all of those.
Right.
But then in 2020, I did start going to a therapist. And I go to a therapist, and I love the fact that I work with somebody, and I call it your mind gym, right? Where I go to the gym for my physical health, but
Right.
having someone to talk to really helps you navigate. And for me, it's more about like building the toolkit of not just survival, but also to thrive. So I just feel like from 2017 to 2020, there was a lot of survival that was happening,
Right.
of burnout, and also any sort of holism, workaholism, alcoholism, any sort of that is you escaping life, right? You're escaping reality.
Yes. 100%.
Right. And I think for me, that was also a journey of, okay, like, can we sit with the pain?
Ah.
Can we sit with the discomfort? It's not easy. It requires practice, it requires support system,
Correct.
as well as skill sets to build it. So I don't know if I've answered your question, but for me, so it's like one was in 2013, the other was in 2017. And after that, it's almost like 2020, I was like, okay, let's embrace the challenges. And even having a startup, like I don't think I've spoken about this ever, because the first podcast I'm having after, like 5 years of authentic living is,
Yeah.
there was a time when, we were working with corporates on, corporate partnership and all of that. And that's where the funding, the revenue comes in.
Yeah.
But then that's the first thing that people take away the moment there is any sort of funding freeze or challenge, that risk that foresee. So employee well-being kind of gets removed, it gets deprioritized. So that became a lot of like financial uncertainty kind of came in. How do you keep the organization going?
Right.
Right, and that's a very big pressure. That's a whole different sort of a stress
Thing
that
altogether,
you
yeah.
have to do. You have to go through. But it also taught me, like, we figured out how to keep doing what we do best,
Right.
while also becoming more leaner as a system. Not by actually, like letting people go, but rather changing the format of how we function. So because of that, we've been able to do a lot of work. So that also taught me a lot of, that the perseverance that's required, and also sometimes you need to pause.
Yeah.
And if you've had like XYZ dream, it's okay to take a step back and realign and re-look at that dream, and then go back and work on it
Get
again.
into it.
Yeah, get into it. again.
100%. No, I see you as this very beautiful, obviously, women leader, right? And because we are wanting to talk about, the role of women in the leadership spaces,
Yes.
how it is overall the best thing for
Mm-hmm.
the organizations, because it's not just, hey, we are talking about we want women in leadership, but why?
Why?
What role does it play, right?
Yeah.
So I would really love to talk about the ecosystem that was there, because from our initial conversation, I know that, you've been blessed with a good ecosystem. So
Yes.
I would love to talk about that ecosystem for you, and how important is it as a woman, probably to, what kind of ecosystem should be there for
Yeah.
this to propel, right?
Yeah. It's a great question. And actually, as you're asking me, something that I realized is I was born into this ecosystem. So
Right.
a year before I was born is when my mom started the business that still runs.
Wow.
Right. And
Wow.
of course, my mom and dad run it together right now.
Wow.
But I have grown up in a house where I've seen the woman as much as the man go in and do things. And right now, it's one of those organizations. And lately, in the last 1 year, I support them a little bit with respect to the people
Right.
culture side of things.
Right.
And I went back, right? So after I left in 2013, I kind of went back to support. And the reason I decided to do that, and the reason I'm consulting with other organizations, and there are some great organizations, but there are also those where you suggest things, but it's not being applied.
Right.
But this place, which is home, it is a lot of like people and profit hand in hand.
Right.
Most of the senior roles are women in the organization, though it belongs to the refractory industry, so which is a old school industry, a man's world. But it has so the way people are treated is with respect. There's a lot of it is enriching for the employees as well as the leadership that is there.
Wow,
I
love
think
that.
that's what I grew up in such a space, and
Yeah.
there is no so it's last year when my dad understood the concept of there is pay parity that exists, and he thought it only exists in India, and I was like, no, it exists in the world.
Yeah.
Because in that organization there is no disparity
Correct.
that is there. There is parity.
Right.
Right. So So like that, for me, it started there, where I can see that when it's, when you bring in the element of the lens of a woman, and by nature, if we go into biology, there's a lot of nurturing that happens.
Right.
It's not like a straight line. It's
Yeah.
always like circular in nature. So
Yeah.
it's a lot more sustainable, and it doesn't even have. So for me, a mother is a woman leader, right? Because they are managing the house, even if they're not out working. There's a lot of project management, there is people management, there's resource management, there is emotional management. So there's a lot of, like, when you look at leaders, it's not just those who are running the countries and running organizations, but in every household you see that. And you can see how much that, you give them something and they make it better. We always say that, right? So,
Yeah.
so I feel like there's so much of value. It's not just for the woman, but an organization wise, at an ecosystem wise, there's a lot of value when you have equal representation, when you have systems and processes, like, for example, something that's actively spoken about is parental leave.
Yeah.
Right, where earlier it was maternal leave, paternal leave was not even there. So it's a big disadvantage to hire a woman, because especially if she's in the like going to have children, that age demography,
Yeah.
they'll think twice, because like she could go away. But if you have parental leave, then both the father or the mother can take time off, so then your hiring is never biased.
Right.
Right, so there are things you can do at a system level, which will really allow for, and I remember when you spoke about like equity versus equality.
Yes.
Like, and I love that, because it's about equity.
Correct.
There's a reality of, as women, your biology is different, we are built different, and instead of trying to fit into how it is done in a very very like rigid way,
Yeah.
if we can acknowledge and make space for it to include the best parts of the cyclical nature that we have,
Yes.
I feel like it's going to be a lot more nourishing and a lot more productive, and the bottom line is
100%.
also going to be
Yes, 100%.
effective. So it's an economic strategy, not just a people strategy.
Right. I love how you brought the point up, of equity and equality, because again, there was one very beautiful, picture I saw wherein people of different heights were standing in stools of different height, because that is only how they'll be equal.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean that you provide all of them equal length of stools or whatever, so that, because again, the length difference would be there if it is equal. Equity means providing them with the right kind of setup or whatever, so that they are now equal in
Yes.
terms of ecosystem. But what I would want to understand, like we know today, like today the ratio of, again, I don't want to focus a lot on men and women, but in terms of statistics, right, it's like 50% all across. But still, in terms of leadership roles, right, we do see a very less representation still, I think, as a world, as people.
Yeah.
As companies, we all have really come far in terms of understanding these concepts, but still the representation, somewhere probably, like the challenges you just mentioned, couple of them are, happened. So according to you, right, how can that be bridged basically? How do we take that percentage on this level also to the leadership level? How do you see that?
I can only share my personal opinion
Yeah,
on this,
100 no,
because I just
100%.
feel
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
there is, of course, there's a system level support and
Correct.
upgrade that's required. But also my question is, what is a definite, I feel like a lot of women, they grow to a certain extent, but the absolute reality is that the moment you get married, you start
Right.
having children, the priority shifts.
Right.
Right. Either because the support system is not there.
Yeah.
Right. Or maybe they are the best person, or they're just they're prioritizing that. Right. Like,
Agreed.
bringing
Yeah.
up a child. So I think for me, I'm also kind of questioning what is the, like, what do you, how do you define success? Right. Is
Yeah.
it only climbing the ladder? So that's one level of it. Right.
Yeah.
Is it only climbing the professional ladder? Because I know a lot of women who take a break for like 6-7 years
Yeah.
and then they go back. But then,
Yeah.
unfortunately, then they have to, start at a much lower level.
Yes.
Because again, if we go back to what we spoke about earlier, a parent of either gender or
Right.
across any genders, parents have so many better skill sets that they are building,
Yeah.
prioritization, time management. If we account for that when they get back into the workspace, I think we'll definitely address one of the things.
Makes
Because
sense.
then even if there's a gap, that's not looked at a complete break from a career.
Yeah.
And they can have like a, career bridging, just to build the context. And if, for example, somebody is coming back after like 6-7 years, they would need support with tech and AI.
100%.
Right? Like, so us having systems in place that will actually help them reintegrate back into workplace, I think will definitely increase the number of women representation in leadership roles. Second, I think, is just making mandates,
Right.
right? Like, mandates of where the number of percentage of representation itself, that would be great. But right now, even if 50% of the population is women, as you said, across the board in politics, like people are thinking about menstrual health. It's men who's kind of like talking about it, right? And it's it's not that, like they shouldn't, but rather you should talk about the actual stakeholders who will be affected by it.
Correct.
Right. So I think just that, like on one level, representation, the second level is us kind of equitable outcome, because then you kind
Yes.
of bridge back into it. The third is support system. I
Right.
think we need to focus on not just the women, but then the people around
Yeah.
for the support system, because organically, generationally, it has been that, and there's a joke that they say that, I need a wife to be successful, sort of a thing. I know women who say that, right?
I've heard a better one. So,
Yeah.
and a better one as in one of my mentors, our first season's first speaker, right? So she said that, for a woman, it takes a village.
Yes.
And that's so true. And again, one of the thoughts that scared me through and through, I've seen enough women leaders now. Again, the number is very less who are actually able to manage
Yeah.
the family life and the
Yeah.
work life, and with all the ambition they come out. Something you're losing out
Yeah.
on. And with that, I mean, I think, what makes it more, sensible is that when people understand the role that women as a women, or let's call it like the feminine part
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
traits, are going to play on the leadership level.
Absolutely.
Because when the realization of the impact that it can have is when I think the adaptability and the urge to kind of make sure the bridges are built would be more. So
Absolutely.
would love for you to speak about what do you think, I mean, the traits that
Yeah.
probably intrinsically are there, right? What role does it play in kind of changing the entire
Yeah.
thing on the leadership level?
I think innately the way our brain is wired
Yeah.
is we are better at multi-focus. I won't call it multitasking, but rather multi-focus, right? Like, so there's a system level thinking that naturally comes in for a lot of people.
Right.
So again, I don't want to bias it by gender, but I know through conversation, we know a lot of guys be like, I can't multitask. Right? It's a natural, it's a trait, and
Trait,
that's
yeah.
also a blessing. So it's not like we need all of it in place.
Yeah.
But if you have someone who's going to be like, okay, you know what, I can't multitask, I'll just go forward with this.
Right.
Then having somebody also in that team who can look at the entire system, like at a system level approach, is one.
Right.
I have noticed that there's a lot more of first principle approach as well that's taken, because there's so much empathy that you're able to look at multiple different perspectives, and it's not just emotional empathy, like it's not just compassion from the emotional level, but also from your thinking level, from a compassionate action level. So compassion by default is something that we have seen that we're able to like delve into a lot more easier, and compassionate leadership is a high priority right now, given where the world is, like climate crisis, the challenges that's happening with like technological advances, all of those things.
Right.
So in such a scenario, we need more nurturing elements.
Right.
And when I say nurturing, I don't mean like mothering, pandering, any of those sort of
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
I just mean like that's more enriching, and I'm thinking of an example that I can give, which is
Empowering, maybe.
empowering. It's not competition, it is collaboration.
Right.
Right? There's like, when the tribe comes together, when women come together, there's a lot of collaboration that happens, and I feel like it can add value. So
Yeah.
maybe the best has already been created, right? The way the world is.
Right.
Now let's add an element of, the element of bringing in more collaboration, bringing in more empathy, bringing in more of, system level thinking of, what you make a decision here, like tariff decisions here, how is that going to affect the rest of the world, right? Or the entire ecosystem. So I think we're able to bring that a lot more.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I don't mean the others don't have it, but I just by talking to the women around me and the ones I'm working with, I can just see that there's a lot more that they can add into the system, which kind of really would be helpful.
No, that makes sense. Which kind of reminds me of this entire angle of, inclusivity that
Yeah.
goes about, right? So, even beyond men, women, all
Yeah.
genders,
Yeah.
everything, right? Only when you will have the voices, the representation, at the stakeholder level, is when you'll be able to cover all the loopholes.
Yes.
Because otherwise, I mean, there's always a biased decision
Of course,
otherwise, right?
yeah.
And then how are you going to become like a foolproof company, maybe, you know. I mean, I'm not sure if that's possible, but anyways. So that being there, so because you coach a lot of women, and you mentioned, like, you know, that is also the part of your work that you love the most. What kind of challenges
Yeah.
have you seen more often than others? You know, in terms of, again, it would serve as a good reminder to probably like the people in organizations, stakeholder level who are seeing this, listening
Yeah.
to this, maybe to understand like core intrinsic challenges that women leaders are coming to you with, because probably you are a safe space for them. So if you can just talk a little about that. Yeah.
Sure. I'll talk about that, and I'll also talk about this also directly addressing the women leaders, because I feel like the system can only help you so far.
Right.
You also have to
Help yourself.
help yourself. You need to understand what's going on,
Yeah.
right? And because there are decades and centuries of maybe intrinsic, ancestral, just like messaging of you're not enough, or you have to be a particular way.
conditioning
The
that
conditioning,
plays
right?
in,
So
yeah.
it's a lot of conditioning that kind of stops us from that. I was going to come to that. Like, one of the other reasons why women are not in those roles is because there's so many studies that also say that men will apply for a role where if they feel like they can do it, even if they don't know the whole thing.
Right.
But a woman, even if she's able to do it, she'll still doubt herself, like the self-doubt.
Yeah.
Right. So there's conditioning, there is self-doubt, there's a lot of like intrinsic disempowerment that happens, which I think is something that's more important for us to address first.
Yeah.
Because then everybody will be able to stand up and speak for themselves. So a lot of my work is about that, like helping them reconnect with their personal power. I'm not saying find, it's all there. It's there in all of us. We have all had it as children.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if again, there are videos, beautiful videos that's there online, which shows about, they're dressing a boy as a girl.
Yeah.
Right? And they're engaging with adults around them. And then the conversation, the toys that they give is like a Barbie and all of that. While if you put a girl in a boy's dress,
Yeah.
right, they immediately bring out the blocks and they bring out the vehicles and all of
The
those things.
cars.
The cars. And that immediately helps with your thinking skills and your, like there's a lot of cognitive skill development that happens.
Yeah.
So I feel like at every level, right, we need to start from childhood, like working with
Yeah.
children,
Yeah.
and bring in that equality where boys can also play house with, where the empathy gets built,
100%, yes.
while girls also get to play with the cars and the racing and all of those things. So then it's equal, like you're enriching them in a very equal way, right, an equal capacity. So I think it starts with that. So a lot of my work has been about helping them find their personal voice and personal power, and then they fly. That's what I love to see, because all the answers are within you. You are resourceful by yourself, or it's around you, but then it's that helplessness
Yeah.
which is there, that is almost like, okay, let's talk about it, and you get to tune back into your own personal power.
Wow, there's so
An
much,
agency.
so many angles I really want to take this forward to. But probably the one that I'll anchor in, because you mentioned about, it starts from like the childhood
Yes.
level. Also, how I see it is that, I've seen male leaders some of them being the best empaths.
Yeah.
Some of them giving the best support possible for you to propel. So, can we think of it as more like even a boy can
Yeah.
have more feminine traits to say, or some qualities which here are associated as feminine and masculine, and a girl in the capacity can have more masculine traits, which are right now, I mean, for the lack of better words,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It is. So how do we think of that from that lens, and then probably try to guide kids from that age to be the best leaders
Yeah.
by understanding their own qualities?
Yes.
Like, what's your take on that?
Don't condition them to be anything.
Stop with the conditioning.
Stop with the conditioning and be a support system to see what they evolve into.
Right.
Right? And I think it's hard to do because it's all around you, messaging is everywhere. But I feel like there are a lot of parents who are actively even though I grew up in that way, I didn't grow up in a house where they said, you're a girl, you have to do this.
Right.
And that has till date.
Right.
It helps me because I don't ask myself, can I do this? I ask myself, let's see what I can do.
Yeah.
That one shift
Yeah.
stops you from being paralyzed in being able to take a chance
Yeah.
versus being able to do that. And that I purely give credits to my parents. A lot of parents do that, like, around all of us. So I think just allowing for our own personal strengths and reiterating that, and it's okay to make mistakes. Like, as a kid, it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of parenting now is about resilience building. because that's where the world is, like
That is where the world
flexibility,
has come to, yeah.
resilience building, being, how do you learn to learn forever?
Right.
Right, like those are the things that we need to focus on rather than, and when we, what you said, right, like the softer elements, it's just human skills,
Yeah.
right? And now we know, when all of us are living alone, that whether you are a guy or a girl, you have to know how to cook, right? Or you
Yeah.
have to have the support system, how to manage a space or a household. So it's about that. It's about like, and that way also having that in your thinking capabilities, in your emotional regulation, because more and more studies are saying that you grow in your career, especially the top levels of management, the better emotional intelligence you have.
Right.
Right? So I feel like we're doing a disadvantage to the boys as well when we are not investing in things. And it's a great question you asked, because it has to be invested in all children.
Exactly,
to
to
be
let
able
them
to do-
probably explore their own
Yeah.
like strengths and weakness,
Yeah.
because I think we are honestly probably we are becoming aware of it now. It
Yes.
used to probably exist, but
did, yeah.
the inclusivity thing and all of it coming up, right? I think everyone is now more vocal about what they feel,
Yes.
what they want to pursue, what they want to
Yes.
do, and everything. So probably that is where it starts, like you said, you know, it starts with the again, it would be a good again point for again people understanding how do you do with, like, how do you do away with this conditioning, because I think we are all also very conditioned, right,
Yeah.
to an extent.
Yeah.
So if collectively we all were to take that effort to be like, hey, let's start building a world which is less conditioned from, I don't know what's the theory behind where it's coming from, but what do you think would be the steps for all of us as society to take towards that?
Tune into ourselves.
Hmm.
That's the only solution for it, because conditioning is not reducing, it is changing and increasing in different ways.
Right.
Because if you look at social media, right, like when we were kids, maybe we knew about what's happening in our school,
Right.
or we knew about what's happening in a community. Right now, a teenager knows about what's happening in a different part of the world in a very screened way of,
Yeah.
what is only meant to be put out. Right? So
Right.
there's a lot of that level of, there's pressure to perform. There's a
Yeah.
lot of pressure to show up in a particular way. So that's also forms of conditioning. If you really look at it, it's all messaging that you're getting, right? Like we don't have to call it conditioning. So the only way is to truly tune into yourself and understand what is your reality. And it takes work, because you have to undo the messaging that you get from the community.
Yeah.
You have to undo the messaging, some of the messaging that's not helping you from your parents. There'll be a lot that's helping you too.
Yeah.
Right? So really sitting with yourself, the inner work
Yeah. Yeah.
is what, and it's a ripple effect, because if I do it, then the kind of relationships I would engage with would ripple that out. The kind of organizational culture I would build, it will have a ripple effect there as well. So I think it's fully up. This particular thing is on the adults right now to go within and to unpack and do the decluttering
Yeah.
and then relearning. There's a lot of unlearning and relearning that we got to do.
I will just stretch this a little more here in the
Sure.
sense when you said tune into yourself, right? I mean, I think that is the need of the hour, at least in the world that we are in today with all the automations and AI coming in, right? But again, for the people who don't know how to do it,
Yeah.
can you just probably lay down the steps for when we say tune in,
Yeah.
what does it look like? How do you do it? What are the steps?
Okay. The way I do it and the way I recommend
Right.
others to do it is, one is practice presence, which
Okay.
is mindfulness, where you're present in the here and
Being
now.
in the now.
Being in the now. Mindfulness can also be meditation, right?
Right.
But I wouldn't even I want to make it accessible. Just focus on your breath and
Right.
say, okay, I am breathing in and I'm breathing out, right? That's one. And when I say being aware and present, it's also just without judgment. What are my thoughts? What are my emotions?
Right.
So journaling is a great practice for that, where
Right.
you write down what's going out and then you observe it. Okay, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
Right? And is it serving me or it is not serving me?
Yeah.
Right? So it's that. It's about, because a lot of this conditioning is disempowering, and a lot of it also came in as survival during our childhood, which we needed. It was there to
Yeah.
protect us. But as adults, it's about taking that pause and being like, okay, this is helping me, this is not helping me. Working with somebody, having a coach, having a therapist, really helpful in that journey of, because it's hard to do it yourself unless that's all you want to do, right? And it takes time.
That is true. It takes time.
It takes time.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about just being present, acknowledging, okay, this is who I am.
Yeah.
This is all my pluses. This is all my strengths. This is all my areas of growth. And then be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And then learn and invest. And so for me, it's mindfulness practice. It is journaling. It is checking in with yourself. How are you feeling in your body and your mind?
Right.
And also understanding that our mind what we're thinking is a composition of so many different things that you don't have to believe it completely.
Correct.
And go deeper and deeper. And then you'll understand, like deep down, you'll know what truly matters to you. And then anchoring yourself in that. You know, we talk about organizational values,
Right.
but also what are your personal values? Right? How do you design a life that's so conscious for yourself
Yeah.
that even when the world outside is doing things, you
Your
can
inner compass to
exactly
say,
your inner compass is here.
Yeah.
You can come back home to your own.
yes.
Okay, this is the, and you can always give yourself permission to change that as well.
100%.
Right? But because we all evolve, and that's
Correct.
also part of the journey. So I think for me it's that, like, tune in. And I was speaking to some school children, and that's the same thing I told them, that you can't control what you're eating and all of those things right now, because parents are of course taking care of that.
Yeah.
But it's just the practice of you sitting with yourself, either with a pen and paper or however it is, that will fundamentally improve your this thing, and taking care of your physical health, taking care of your mental health, all of these things, because then your quality of life improves.
Right.
Then by default you're able to show up and change things around for people.
No, I love this. This is lovely. But again, I would love to anchor you back into understanding, because you work so much with the women leaders, what are some of those things that come up the most, right, in terms of challenges?
Yeah.
Which we can just make probably, through this, we can make the organization, people at stakeholder level aware of, okay, this is what we are thinking,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And then probably it can propel some changes.
Sure. I will talk about this from an aspect, when I say women, it's just all people in general.
Right.
Because from a when I work with women leaders, the problem is, like, there's a system level problem, which is affecting everybody.
Everyone.
Right? The personal problems are the ones, either they're going through their relationship challenges, their personal life challenges is
Yeah.
what kind of actively comes up, or the work pressure, all of those things. So that is, everybody experiences that, and there's
Agreed.
one of a kind, as we discussed, there's like a system level change that needs to come.
Yeah.
But organizationally, what I would say is, it's great to have a EAP program, the Employee Assistance Program. It is great to have well-being workshops and all of those.
Yeah.
But none of that makes a difference if your everyday work is not figured out. Right? Give
The
them
change has to be more
change
fundamental.
has to be fundamental. How do you
Yeah.
manage your people?
Right.
How are you treating your people?
Yeah.
Right? Like, treat them as assets and not as resources. Right?
Right.
Like, it's like, how do you invest in their growth and development? So one
Right.
is at a people level.
Right.
And the honest reality is, there's a lot of lack of clarity on what's happening as well. So even at a project level, like better project management systems, like better workload,
Yeah.
management system, because we can always talk about the other things, but unless these fundamental things are not taken care of,
Right.
those are just bandages.
I
Right?
agree.
Like, so it's that, like, how do we bring in a workplace and flexible working? I feel like, especially for women,
Right.
who have children, having some flexible working hours make a big difference. Right? Or anybody, any caregiver, any of the genders, any caregiver, whether you're caregiving your child or for your parents as well, like the elderly. So flexible working hours. So let's bring in the element of humanness into workplace, because
Yeah.
earlier we could be working a lot more with machines. Now we are working with people and their minds.
Yeah.
Right? So then there needs to be a nurturing and enrichment of that we need to account for as well, so that it does not lead to burnouts. Like, the amount of churn that we are experiencing because of just burnouts and
Yeah.
people not being happy in their workplace, all of that can be addressed, and the current generation is not tolerant to that, right? And it's a big disadvantage for
Yeah.
them and for those who are in the management, because attrition is not great. Right? Like,
agree.
so how do we bring in that humanness back in, is something that I feel like that would be great. And for me, always the question is that, how do I want to be treated? And I treat my team that way.
Wow.
Right? Like, treat people the way you want
You
to be
want
treated.
to be treated,
So I want
exactly.
clarity. I want to be respected. I want to be given agency for my work. I also want to be given feedback when I'm not
Right.
doing something right, because
Right.
I want to learn and grow in the process.
Right.
Right? So all of those things, and remuneration, like, show them that you value them in the right way. Give people what it's due, what they're due. So just that, like, I feel like if we're able to go down to those fundamental things, whether you're a startup or a big MNC, it makes a big difference across the board.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But again, do you think when you said about remuneration, let's say, for example, and we, earlier spoke about how because of some personal life
Yes.
phases probably, you know, women have to probably step back.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's, and that's more often than not, right? You have
Yeah.
to take a call wherein you have to prioritize your family, your kids,
Yeah.
or whatever. So in that sense, again, I don't know, honestly, I don't have a right and wrong in my head right now about this, or probably there's none. But do you think then in the stakeholder level, when there is disparity or when there is a difference in the remuneration for a man and a woman probably doing the same work,
Yeah.
how do you kind of, what do you think about it? How do you justify
I don't
that?
think it should be there.
Hmm.
If you hire, you give them the payment based on the work that they're doing.
Correct.
Remunerate them based on what they're bringing in, their skill sets.
Correct.
Why are we bringing in gender into the equation? And it's
Exactly.
not just for those women
it
who are going
exists,
back.
right? It very much
exists. It exists across the globe.
Exactly.
It is not okay. Like it's as simple as that. Because
Right.
if that's because here it's about human centric organization. Why are we bringing in gender at all?
Right.
Right? If whether you're a guy or a girl, if you're doing or any other gender, if you're doing the work, if you're capable, like pay people based on their skill sets and capabilities and potential,
Correct.
not based on their gender. And I think that's an absolutely not okay thing because it doesn't make any sense.
I agree because because numbers, latest studies, they clearly show that the gap is there, and which also becomes, I think, you know, so for some reason, again, I don't know, like this is, I don't know if it is a men and women thing exactly, but women will have to kind of, they're scared of failure because for them it's like the stakes are a little higher
Yeah.
because you're anyways kind of not valued the same, and then now you're not able to meet up the expectations, and then it leads to so many more issues.
Yeah.
And so because of that non-levelness, it
Yeah.
inherently it kind of goes about like, okay, this is the right thing to do because
Yeah.
it's not matching our expectations. So I think something at the board level, like you said, it needs to be just skills
Yeah.
and what you're delivering and not
Yeah.
nothing else, right?
Yeah, no, and your potential. That's it. Because, but this is the world we are living in.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you also have to accept that there are some things you can't change. I would love to change it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't see it changing because it's across industries, right? It's not just the tech companies. It's not just the manufacturing companies. It's the film industry. It's any industry that you take
yeah.
across the globe. Men are paid more than women right now, and that's
Yeah.
just a reality of it. It's an unfortunate reality, but
Yeah.
it's just like it. I don't think that should be okay. And there are some honestly, there are organizations that's also changing that. Right? The
100%, I
last
think,
not for
yeah.
profit I was working with, we had pay parity. We didn't look, gender was not even part of the equation.
Right.
Your role was part of what we looked at. Your role, your capability, your opportunity cost, all of those are things that we looked at. The family business that I told you about, there is no gender based pay. So I'm sure there are in pockets organizations where they're not looking at the gender
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
I know it's there. There are a lot of startups that's not doing it anymore. So that's good. There are small changes that's happening, but it's not visible at a global scale. So I still feel like, I know, as I said, you know, when I said that,
Yeah.
I know we have to accept the reality, but I still think it's great we're having these conversations because
Yeah.
more people can think about it and be like, there is like, I can't think of a reason why there should be a difference in pay.
Yeah.
Like, can you? Like, there's just nothing.
No, exactly. And which brings me to a very different question, you know. So, okay, from company's perspective, probably we've discussed this, but from a women's perspective, right, on this side of the table, what, I mean, I think we all are doing enough and more. I'll give you a personal example. So, whenever I walk into a room, right, generally, if it is, let's say, investor meets and all, 80 to 90% it's male. Probably double my age, again, not to kind of, I'm just setting a context here.
yeah.
So what happens is, you know, being in that room, I think I've started to understand how to break those barriers,
Yeah.
but you cannot just walk up to them, and that wouldn't be like a very easy conversation because you have to break that barrier from there and also to be
Yeah.
having an open conversation, right? And at the same time, I've seen, you know, in these spaces, women huddle in, right? There's this all the thing going on, and then there's a group of women because probably they're not feeling included in that entire thing. So as women, right, what do you think as women we should be doing to break those ceilings and barriers? What can we do? Because I mean, there's all the part that other people can
Yeah.
play into
What
it,
can
right?
we do?
Yes.
Absolutely. Be the best at what you're doing. No, so,
I
like,
love that line.
because you have to invest in, we know this is what we have, this is our context, and this is the landscape.
Yeah.
But if I'm saying that, you know what, pay me based on my skill sets and what I'm capable of, then the one thing I have control over is to invest in my skills and capabilities and across the board, right? As said earlier, like how you represent yourself, how you manage your interactions, and how do you break that discomfort and, you know,
Yeah.
walk up to somebody and talk to them. be really good at what you are doing.
Yeah.
I really think that, I mean, I've been very lucky where I've been surrounded by opportunities where I haven't had to face too much of a gender based thing. Initially, very early on, I did, but not as I got older or, got more experience. And it's just, you have to be your biggest advocate.
Yeah.
You have to be your biggest cheerleader, and also probably shareholder for yourself. Right?
No, I love that. And so, with that, we are coming closer to one of the segments, of the podcast, which is more personal,
Okay.
which is more, I mean, we would like some, insights into you,
Okay.
which is called as MVP's mic drop segment.
Okay.
So, but before we move on to this, would you want to add any last bits to all the conversation that we've had? Or probably sum up anything which probably could be a message that you would want to really relay through this conversation.
Absolutely. From an organizational end, I feel like it's a system level change that needs to come in, because when you look at leadership, like for me, it's again not gender based. It's like
Yeah, it's more like a bigger
human
lens.
centric.
Yeah.
So that's the lens that I want to bring in. It's a human centric approach on how do we make it humanly sustainable too, right?
Right.
Like it's not just climate and energy, but human sustainability of being able to grow through their organization and do great work and contribute like
Yeah.
a symbiotic relationship. So I think that's a system level thing. But as an individual level, I feel like there's a lot that we can do.
Right.
Right? Like take that agency, take the ownership, and just really do what we got to, like invest in ourselves.
Right.
Because I think that, again, irrespective of whatever gender, but really invest in ourselves and be holistic in who we are, right? Like
Wow.
not just be having like technically really strong, but also can you relationally be really strong, because a lot of your work is built on relationships that you build as well.
100%.
And in life too, right? So
Right.
so I think just that, yeah.
No, I love that. I love that. And with that, obviously, we'll move into the second segment.
Sure.
So there would be it's more like questions that will come at you, and would love for you to also explain the reasoning of whatever answer you give.
Sure.
So the first question, and my favorite question that I ask everybody, is there a book or a podcast or something that kind of change your perspective towards life, like that pivotal role, if something like that is played in your life?
That's an interesting question. I read a lot, but there is not one book per se. Multiple books, but if you ask me the most key pivots, I'll go back to the Bhagavad Gita actually.
Wow.
Because as a kid, we had someone who would explain it to us as to what it is, and I picked up a lot of things with respect to life from there,
Right.
which has been very ingrained in it. One was about the whole like agency, self-agency part of it. The second is, if there is light, there's also dark. So then how do you, like, what do you choose and what do you focus on?
Right.
So that whole balance in the world piece of it. There is the element of the doing the right. So
Right.
it doesn't matter whether it's your blood relative, it doesn't matter anything, but it's about like doing the right. That I think, and for me, leadership is that, like doing the right? Like, you got to do what is necessary, what is the best for not just, it's not a personal gain thing, but it's rather a collective gain thing.
Right.
So I think
right.
for me, that has always stayed. And then a lot of the other books have just been adding on to that.
No, I love that. So the second question is there any particular like quote or a message or something that kind of drives you or motivates you or inspires you, something that comes to your mind right away?
You got one life, so why not
YOLO.
try and not YOLO, but rather like just give it a shot. Like, just give it a shot, sort of a thing.
More like take that leap,
Take
whatever
that
is coming
leap.
to
As
you.
I told you, right? Like for me, it's never about like, thing that drives me the most is learning and growth.
Wow.
That's my driver. So whatever I'm doing, it's usually, that's the fundamental driver. Can I get better at this? And
Wow.
not from a space of being perfect at it,
Yeah.
but more like just to challenge yourself. So for me, it's that. So hence, it's always the quote that always runs in my head is, let's see what I can do with it. So
That is so nice. And the last question, because you mentioned your journey, you've had your pivots, you've made your choices. So, what is your go-to, let's say, activity or ritual or something that helps you reset whenever you're, let's say, having a low, having a hard time? What is that something that's helped you reset and like bounce back?
journaling.
Wow. Okay.
I meditate every day. I journal every day.
Wow.
And move my body every day. So it's a non-negotiable.
You're doing everything that needs to be done to be
Yeah, but
happy,
that built
healthy.
it over time because it's necessary. Like
It's necessary.
It's a non-negotiable because, as I said, if you're not investing in yourself, you can't show for anything or anybody around you.
Correct.
So it's more of that. So journaling, like I say, writing is food for my soul because you write and then there's so much clarity that comes when you're able to put it all into paper and you're slightly removed from what's going on. Yeah.
Wow, I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Shilpa, for bringing these insights onto the table. I have personally, I don't know, there's just perspective shifts that's come to me already with this conversation. I hope the viewers, everybody here listening to this have found that in this, and would love for the people there to share it with the leaders, the companies who you think kind of, needs to kind of hear this conversation and take away whatever can help proper like a better ecosystem. Any last words with which you would want to like really wrap up?
Thank you so much for having me. It's really
How
wonderful
sweet.
to have this discussion with you, and wishing you all the best. And would
How
love to
sweet.
absolutely I like the angle that you brought in, the questions that you've asked about both at a system level, organization level, as well as an individual level, what we can do. And I hope this conversation helps. Thank you.
Really, thank you so much. Thank you for being here, and we loved having you on this one.
Women in leadership.
Oh, this is crazy,
Thank you.
and it's brilliant. Wow, it's crazy. How do you do this? But it's brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you for this.
So you're part of the universe now. Your
Yeah.
character is part of this
Yes.
universe.